Hey, Ananies everyone, and today I'm gonna tell you about the first game of my third round skirmish with another player in the ESL Cup. So this time I was up against the player named Fisshteh. It was the biggest challenge for me. This guy is in the top. Now he's in the top 200, 160 I think, in the new ratings, and this was a very tough challenge. So by the start of this round, I was with 2 wins out of 2 matches, so I was feeling pretty confident. And let's see how this went. So this was the first time where my opponent picked his faction first, and he went with Bretonnia, and I picked the Greenskins. For me, right now, this is like the most favorite matchup: the Greenskins versus Bretonnia. I haven't lost this matchup in a long time, so I was feeling pretty confident going into this fight. But my opponent has surprised me with his setup a lot. First of all, you can see it looks gorgeous, right? It's so perfectly, just a couple more units to make a perfect diamond. So it's a really great setup. And so he has 4 archers, and they have 2 fire, 2 pox arrows. So lots of skirmishers. Then his back is protected so well with all those halberds, as you can see. So probably he was expecting some maybe cavalry charges or whatnot. Then very solid front line of 4 full squires, backed up by all those heroes and 3 Grail relics. So basically these guys will never run. And then he is shielded by 2 units of man in arms. These guys have very nice melee defense of 26, and for just 350 coins, I think this is a really good value for money unit. And otherwise, I mean, he didn't bring any cav, so it's like a full peasant infantry build for Bretonnia. And he has 2 paladins on horses. Oh no, on foot. Okay, on foot. And then he has Fey Enchantress, who has, yeah, looks like only Earthblood. Probably, yep. So yeah, Earthblood only, and of course all your customary abilities: Favor of the Fae and Chalice of Potions. All right. So for me, against Bretonnia, I normally like to bring 2 units of skirmishers just to troll them, run around. And I brought the Death Crippers and the Manji Marauders. And in the back also, I deployed, stealth deployed 2 Wolf Riders, because normally, Bretonnia, if they bring the regular peasants or archers or even the regular infantry, they are so prone to charges in the back. I feel like even the Wolf Riders can break a cheap unit of Bretonnian peasants. All right. So then, as for my main army, I have I have a front line of 3 orc biggins mixed in with savage orcs. So these guys can wreck pretty much any infantry on Bretonnia side. They will trade well even with the full squires. And then I like bringing Arkner Queen, given she got nerfed in the last patch, but still, I think this maternal instinct, just constantly silencing all those skirmishers, is very nice. And I also like to bring 1 unit of Nessie Skulkers just to snare his calf, because, if they bring knights, as most Britannia players do, these guys are hidden, so once they charge, their smoke bomb reduces the charge speed by 80, I believe. So this is a really good, I think, oh yeah, almost 80%. So this is a really good unit. And of course I have customary 2 Goblin Big Bosses and Warzag with Foot of Gork, and a couple more spells and the Rusty Arrows. So without any further ado, let's go. So as you can see, I tried to poke him, but the range on his skirmisher is much longer, 160 towards to 100 of my skirmishers. So I'm really having a hard time finding a target. I'm like running back and forth trying to poke at him, and of course I can fire while moving, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I would love to fire into the full squires with my unit of Manji Marauders because they have armor piercing, but my opponent very smartly doesn't let me do that. So he brings his archers and they just start unleashing on my calf, and I don't want to suffer any damage to these stupid units. And then I just decide to split my calf and just distract him a little bit. Of course it's harder to control for me, but I'm trying my best to just basically lure the ammo out of this guy. And I send my Death Crippers. They're a very stealthy unit on the right hand side, but they don't have any armor piercing, so firing them into they're firing into men-at-arms, which is really not a good idea. So firing them into the archers will be okay. And I'm just, trying to run around and get some value out of my, missile calf. And as you can see, my opponent just starts to feel antsy a little bit maybe and just starts to march up. And me too, like I see that I probably will not get any advantage just by poking him, because he has this, pokes arrows and he will just be firing at me the whole time. And I decide to march up. And then just to distract his archers, I summon the spider hatchlings and send them forward. So now he'll need to focus them with the archers, and meanwhile I can get some free fire. And you can see, like, this is what I do, and I immediately pull away, and this forces, I just force some ammo out of him, because the cooldown on this ability is so long that actually sometimes I cannot even summon all of them in the course of a battle. So I just decided to go with them. You can see they just get dumpstered, and of course they just get smashed by these foot squires, but they deal some damage, and this allows me time to shoot at his unprotected units. Oh yeah, these guys don't have shields, so these are the men-at-arms without shields, so this is good. And yeah, for me this is good. The trees are blocking some of the fire from his pox arrows, given that some of them actually still manage to pierce through. And as you can see, I hit my 2 units of Wolf Rider, so I'm just waiting for a good chance to pounce on his archers while he, selects his defense. And then I just decided that, I'm not making any progress, so I just decided to charge head-on. The thing is that as soon as I destroy his foot squires, then he stands no chance. He's a very, limited infantry. So these guys, the men-at-arms, they'll just run away. They have very low leadership. Granted, they're boosted by the Grail Reliquary. And the men-at-arms with polearms, they'll just die to the savage orcs so quickly. So I just decided to straight up engage and, see how it goes. And of course I have, Warzag training in the back a little bit, and I have the Rusty Arrows, and I have the Arachnor Queen, so I figure I can just pierce through his front line and silence his archers and see how it goes from there. So you can see my, Rusty Arrows starting to unleash on the Peasant Bowman. And also at the same time I got out of the shelter and start to probe, but my opponent is very smartly and coolly, keeps the straight line in the back. So there's really nowhere for me to pierce through. Like, I cannot really squeeze into the small holes, but you can see my Arachnor Queen has no difficulties whatsoever just piercing through his front line. And I just overload one area just to smash these 2 units of foot squires as soon as possible. And as you can see, my opponent is forced to keep the men-at-arms in the back, so that, nice bombardment from the face, so that, my wolves don't come through. So basically this leaves me like with, 4 against 2 in this fight. And you can see the Fey Enchantress is getting a lot of damage. And now this Nessus Sculptors, this is a dream target for them, the foot squires. And I snare them with the smoke bomb, and then I patch through my 2 goblin big bosses in the middle. And Warzak is there, he's casting all the spells, and as you can see, he's trying to chase my Wolf Riders, who are very annoying with his polearms, but of course he'll not succeed. So 1 unit of archers gone, the second one is going after it. Spider Hatchling stage number 3, and boom, a beautiful Foot of Gork. This was the only 2 units that were holding this flank. You can see here there are only heroes left. I don't count these guys, this is just very rubbish infantry, right? They'll run away very quickly. So these 2 units of polearms, they're being healed by now, but their leadership is negative for a moment after this spell, and they'll just run away. So basically this left flank is all mine now, and I can just dictate the pace of battle. You can see these guys, the Rusty Arrows, they just unleashing the rain of arrows, and nobody can touch them because my opponent doesn't really have any mobility. And now my Wolf Riders can just ride in the back and kill the routing units. You can see the foot squires are out already, and probably this will be the best target for them. And of course he has to commit at some point, otherwise the units, polearms are 550 I believe, and the Wolf Riders are 300, so it's inefficient to just keep them in the back without attacking. So yeah, and then of course I just parked the F-Creepers. You can see they have 20 kills already, not so bad. Then I parked the Manji Marauders, they're also firing into the middle, and this is really good. And now, yeah, so these guys, as you can see, just a couple salvos from the Rusty Arrows and they're gone. Then, this is not really a unit, the Grail Reliquary will run away shortly, and I surround the Fey Enchantress now, and I can just lay a smackdown on her. And you can see Goblin big bosses. I just decided to take out this Grail Relic as soon as I can. And if your Grail Relic is routing, you know that the business is really bad. And then he has some resistance on this right flank. You can see a little bit miss micro on my part, so he managed to catch my Wolf Riders. But otherwise, these guys are getting just free fire in the back of these Full Squires, which is amazing, just amazing value. And then big guns chased away his infantry, and then you can see now the cavalry becomes, skirmish. From skirmish becomes the melee cavalry, and just chase everyone and poke in the back with their knives. And you can see he left his Fey Enchantress, and she's casting the Earthblood, but she will be surrounded and killed very quickly. And I snare her, I believe, with Wurzak, and yeah, she is routing now, so he tries to save her. But, the Spider and the Wurzak is just too much, and the Savage Orcs, of course, do not make your day brighter. You can see I managed to, he managed to bog down my two bosses with the Moin and Ars, but even now, because the Fey Enchantress is gone, these guys are routing and my opponent's army is just collapsing. He has some units coming from the back, but it's just a little too late. 44 kills on one unit of cav, 40 kills on the other. I think it's a great value for my cavalry. And you can see these guys have been probably chasing the routing. You can see the Goblin Wolf Riders, but this is too late. And my opponent's army collapses here. And overall, it was a very comfortable victory for me when I just overloaded his forces. And honestly, if I were to change something, then in my opponent's army, I think that bringing 3 Grail Relics was a little bit too much. So this is like 2,000 resources in between the 3 units, probably leaving just 1 and bringing at least 1 unit of cavalry to counter my heavy charges in the middle would be really good. Like not the Grail Knights necessarily, but any skirmish anti-infantry cav that the Bretonnia has an abundance of would be, I think, really good, much stronger. And you can see this Full Squires 20 kills dumpstered, 8 kills dumpstered. The archers, only 1 unit managed to fire for sufficient amount of time, and many of those were just Wolf Riders or some other cheap units. And in my army you can see the big guns doing really great, the Savage Orcs doing really well. I think they maybe had 1 chevron each before the game, so they earn all the chevrons in the middle of among the fight. And the Wurzak, of course, the Warlord, he got 45 kills, mainly of this Food of Gork on these 2 poor units of Halberds, maybe 9 and 15 kills. Yeah, and overall a very good performance from the archers as well, and the Wolves had some different success between them, but still was very, very good for me. And so the first fight went for me, and yeah, in a good mood we went on to our second fight, where I was choosing the faction first. And I'll tell you about this next time. See you guys.